So guys, I may have found two mistakes in Stranger Things that no one ever noticed. Well, I try to look it up, but I feel like no one really noticed it because there doesn't really give any information about it. So in Stranger Things season 1, at the beginning, you see like there's, I think it's like the first episode, like it's like Mike and Lucas are like fighting, and Mike's in, and Terry's like, okay. And a little bit before or after that season, they're talking about Lord of the Rings, and it clearly says at the beginning, it says Hawkins, Indiana, 1984. And Lord of the Rings didn't come out until 2001. So, yeah. Yeah. So, since Lord of the Rings didn't come out to 2001, how would they be talking about Lord of the Rings if it didn't even come out yet? It literally, from then on, it hadn't come out, 17 years after that, it finally came out. 17 years after 1984, Lord of the Rings came out. 17 years after. So how would they be talking about Lord of the Rings if it came out 17 years after? I don't know, but that's a mistake Netflix made. But I understand why, because at first they probably thought oh, Stranger Things isn't going to be a big show. We won't care if we make a few mistakes. So that's probably why, that. Another mistake that I noticed is sometimes it says a year later or a month later or 4 months later or 5 months later, after something really big happens, usually the last episode, it says things like that, a year later, 1 month later, 2 months later, 5 months later. It really says stuff like that. But then the next season, I watched it from season 1 and then it said a year later. And then I went to season 2 and it said a year later, but it said Hawkins, Indiana, 1984. If it was a year later, it would be 1985 or 1986, not 1984, because if it was 1984, then how would it be a year later? That just doesn't make any sense. So you see what I'm getting at here? So, that's kind of why. That's kind of why it's not really because this did this and this did that. If it was because at the beginning of season 2, it's 1 year later, but then it says 1984. Now, if you replay it back in season 1, it says 1984, Hawkins, Indiana. But if it says 1 year later, I don't really get it. But those are the only two mistakes I have for you guys today. I will see you guys at... What time is it right now?